This is session number 7 of the Sales Mastermind podcast. Today in the hot seat, we have Zeke Salazar. Hit the music. Hello and welcome to the Sales Mastermind podcast. Get ready to harness the power of the Mastermind community and take your sales to the next level. I'm your host, Jonathan Stewart. Before we get to today's question, I just wanted to take a moment to talk about the Sales Mastermind community over on Facebook. This is the official podcast of the Sales Mastermind community on Facebook, and it's a place where we continue the conversation that we start here on the podcast. If you want to be a part of a community of like-minded entrepreneurs, sales professionals, and business owners, then come join us. Just simply go to salespurpose.com/community and request to join the closed Facebook group, and we'd love to see you there. Today's question comes from Zeke Salazar. He asked on Facebook, is it better to outsource your call center or to keep it in-house? So I really like to think about it this way. The call center is often also your inside sales team. And you need to ask yourself when you're thinking about this, would you outsource your sales team? And most people's answer to that would be, of course, no, because you want to have a lot of control over your sales team and you want to be able to train them in your processes and in your products so they can represent those correctly. You think about your outside sales team being the face of your brand. You can think about the inside sales team, also known as call center, as being the voice of your brand. So my personal opinion to answer your question, Zeke, would be that I think it's much better to keep your call center in-house if possible because you have the greatest control over that. Your call center, as I said a second ago, is the voice of your business, and everyone that interacts with those people will perceive how your business treats their customers based on how they treat them. You want to make sure that their experience is great and that your company's image is protected. They are on the front lines. They are the voice of your business, of your product. Think about this for a minute, and I want to give a couple reasons why I would keep your sales team in-house. But I want to just think about this for a minute. At the company that I work for, we definitely keep our call center in-house, and one of the main reasons we do is because of training. So you're able to train them and monitor them as they're handling the phone calls and as they're making sales calls, and you can make sure that they're doing exactly what you want. You're able to constantly monitor them and fix those problems that would come up. And so here's why I would keep your call center in-house. I'm going to give you 4 quick reasons. The first reason is you have more control over the experience. To be on top of everything that goes on, you're able to listen in on conversations. You're able to react and train right on the spot when needed. And it just creates a lot better experience for the people calling in because you have a tighter control on everything that's going on, everything that people are saying, everything that people are presenting, everything that people are promising. You have a good control over that. The second reason why I would keep it in-house is that you have a lot quicker response to be able to correct issues that come up. So let's say you do have an employee that is constantly doing things that are turning customers off, making them mad, making them potentially not be using your business anymore. Well, you'll be able to catch that very quickly. You won't have to wait for a mad customer to call in. You'll be able to figure this out pretty quickly if you're monitoring calls, if you're recording them, if you're listening to them, if you have a manager paying attention to the sales team. One call center employee, one salesperson, they can really mess up a business if they are treating customers poorly, and you could lose thousands and thousands of dollars of business from one bad employee. And so if you catch this quickly, then of course the damage is limited. The third reason why I would keep your call center in-house is because you're able to inspire and influence them in a much greater way. If you outsource this, this company that you outsource it to, they're going to have their own culture. They're going to have their own things they're dealing with. Many times they'll be dealing with more than just your company. And so, they're not going to be as invested or as inspired as your own employees will be. And then the fourth reason is that you can instill in them your company pride and culture. So if you've built a good culture in your company and your employees are proud to represent your company, then they will feel invested in its success. This will make them treat your customers a lot better. You'll have a lot better customer service, And your sales will reflect this as well. When people are treated well, get loyal to a company, and then they will come back for repeat business. An outsourced employee doesn't often care as deeply and will not usually provide the same level of customer service. And so you're able to really provide this culture and this motivation and this inspiration and influence, and you're really able to stay on top of this and make sure your call center or your inside sales team, as I like to call it, is really doing their job. Now, I do have one bonus tip for you. If you have a seasonal type business like we do in the lawn and garden industry, you can hire temporary employees to fill in for the busiest parts of the season. So this keeps you from having to hire a big, huge staff that you would need during the busy parts of the season and have to carry too many employees on the slow season. Obviously, that would be a drag on your finances and your profit. So if you hire temporary call center employees, this can fix that problem. You just got to make sure that you have a really great training system in process and in place so that they can quickly jump in and be right there up to speed. And you can, many times, this is a really big bonus about doing this, about having temporary workers. Many times you'll find a rock star employee that is a temp person, and you'll want to keep them. You'll want to hire them on. And I know at our company there's been at least 2 people like that I can think of where they started out as temporary workers, but quickly they realized that these people were not people that you wanted to let go. These people were rock stars. They were awesome. They treated customers very well. People liked them. And so, you know what? These people stayed. It's an on-the-job interview in a sense. If you don't like the temps, if they haven't done a good job at the end of the temporary period, then of course you just let them go. But you might find some people that you want to stay on your team. So that's one of the bonuses there about having some temporary workers. Now, while I've given you the reasons why I think that you should keep your call center or your inside sales team in-house, so they would be your own employees. Now I just want to give you 7 quick tips on how to motivate your call center and keep them performing at a peak level. Obviously, as employees get more comfortable and as they've been with a business longer, it's easier for them to kind of, get used to things and kind of slow down a little bit and not have quite the enthusiasm as they once have. And so you want to keep this enthusiasm, you want to keep them motivated so they perform at the best level. And so the first way that I think, and this is one of the most important, is make sure that you empower your call center associates to be able to make the call on some smaller issues. So, a customer calls in and that you need to maybe offer them free shipping or maybe quicker shipping to take care of an error or something. You need to give your employees the authority to be able to do that right on the spot immediately. You need to give them some authority and some power so that way they can think for themselves and they can take care of customers as need be. And so empower them. Nothing gets people more invested is when they think they have power. And of course, you give them this power. The second thing that you need to make sure that you do to motivate your call center is properly train them. Nothing's more demotivating than trying to do a job that you're not properly equipped for or properly trained for, and of course failing. Nobody likes to fail, but if you don't train your employees properly, you're setting them up to fail, and most likely you'll have a very high turnover rate. I don't know the exact number, but I have heard that a large majority of people that go into sales, they fail. And I think the reason this is more so than maybe you should say, well, these people just weren't salespeople, or these people didn't have the right temperament. I think it's actually more so they were not trained properly. If you don't train your employees properly, of course, they will not succeed. The third way to motivate your call center is to make sure you lay out very clearly and communicate what success looks like. You want your employees to know that when I do this, and when I reach this particular number or metric, this equals success. People need to know what you're looking for. You need to make sure that it's set, it's in writing, they know it beforehand, and they know when they're succeeding. This also helps them if they are not making the mark and if they're not doing what they should. You know what? They might even just dismiss themselves because they will realize they're not cut out for the job, and they'll save you from having to fire somebody who's not performing anyway. But this is very important. Keep them motivated. Communicate what success looks like. The fourth way to keep your call center motivated is to make sure that you pay them well and you have a nice commission structure in place. Many times when companies are struggling, one of the first people that they cut is their sales team. And maybe they lower commission. Maybe they get rid of some of the sales team. But you know what? This is not the way to go. If you have no sales, you have no company. All companies are selling something, and you need to make sure that you have a strong sales team to represent this. The fifth way to motivate your call center is to make your associates feel appreciated. Make sure that you actually tell them how much they mean to the company. Make sure you let them know what they mean. I love what our company does is at the end of the year, they actually lay out exactly how much money that we made for the company that year. When I look at that, it makes me feel good. I know that, okay, I personally, with my efforts, made X amount of dollars for the company. That really makes me feel appreciated. I really do mean something to this company. I really am making a difference. And so have something like that in place. Also, recognize important events in their life, marriage, birthdays, anniversaries. Pay attention if they lose a family member, if they have loss, if they have grief. Make sure that you're kind with them. Give them leeway, give them flexibility if they need it, and that you have their best interest in mind. Make them feel appreciated, and they'll be more loyal, and you'll have a lot better motivated call center. The sixth way to keep them motivated is to have monthly performance reviews. It keeps people motivated, and it keeps people on target if they know that every month they're going to have to sit down with their manager and talk about their results. And not only is this a great time to coach people and to help them get better, but it is also something that kind of motivates people to make sure that they do their job, because they're going to have to answer up to that. And that's a way of creating accountability with those monthly performance reviews. The seventh way to keep your sales team motivated is to run contests. Good competition within an organization is a great way to keep people motivated. Keep in mind, you don't have to be super elaborate with the particular prize, but really what it comes down to is a lot of the reward is just the prestige and the recognition and status of winning. And so that'll be enough many times, but you do, of course, want to offer some kind of bonus, whether that be monetary or some physical item. What if you are not able to hire your own sales team, your call center team, and you're just a small enough company that you just can't do it? You just can't hire those people. Then I just want to give you a few tips on if you are looking to outsource. While I don't recommend it, I think you ought to do everything in your power that you can to have it in-house. If you have to outsource, here are 4 quick tips for choosing an outsourced company. First of all, I recommend that you choose a local company. So several reasons for this. One, you'll be able to actually physically meet with them, and if necessary, run the people that will be answering calls and doing customer service for you. You'll be able to at least train them a little bit on what you're looking for. And so that'll be important. Since these can't be your own people, you want to at least have some influence over how they treat your customers. Also, make sure you choose, secondly, a company with proven experience, a company that is known in the industry for being good. They've proven themselves already. 3, when you go and you visit this local company that you've chosen, make sure that you spend a little bit of time just kind of getting the vibe of the company. Do they have happy employees? Does it look like a great place to work? Because if it's a bad environment, if it's a place where you have unhappy employees working there, that's not the call center that you want answering your calls. These people will not treat your customers well. Make sure that you choose a company with happy employees. And then fourth, and this might be the biggest key and one of the biggest tips for choosing an outsourced company, don't choose the cheapest company you can find. Don't go for the lowest bidder. You don't want to go for the cheapest item available usually, because you know what? You get what you pay for. If the company that you're using as your outsourcing company, if they're not charging very much, then they're not paying their employees very much. And employees that don't get paid very well are less loyal, they're less engaged, they're less invested, and they're more just for their job. They're there for the job and not necessarily there because they like being there. And this will turn into less than good customer service. And so make sure that if you cannot hire your own in-house call center team, make sure that you at least spend some time and pick the right outsourced team. So I hope this was helpful for you, Zeke, and also for you guys listening in. As always, I want to mention that the show notes will be on the website, the Sales Purpose blog at salespurpose.com/session007. There I will put a quick summary of what we talked about here in the podcast. I will also put the links that we talked about here in the podcast as well. I do want to make a special announcement that we are running a contest through June 17th, which is this coming Friday. And to enter the contest to win a $25 gift card to Amazon, all you have to do is simply go to iTunes, type in the Sales Mastermind podcast, and find the podcast there and write a review about how this podcast has been helpful for you. And then simply go to salespurpose.com/contest and fill out the form where you put your name and email and let me know that you completed the iTunes review, and that'll enter you into the contest. The contest runs through June 17, 2016, and after that day is passed, then I will go ahead and choose one of the reviews that I believe to be the most helpful, and that person will win the $25 Amazon gift card. So just let you know, this podcast, you'll notice at the very beginning, we mentioned who asked the question. That's because people like you that listen to this podcast and those that are followers of our social media accounts, they are asking us questions, and we're answering those here on the podcast. If you would like your question to be featured here on the Sales Mastermind podcast, just go to salespurpose.com/SM podcast, and you can see instructions there, 3 different ways that you can actually submit your question to be answered here on the podcast. And this is the official podcast of the Sales Mastermind community on Facebook. If you go to salespurpose.com/community, you can join that Facebook community and continue the conversation that we started here in the podcast. Well, I hope that you guys take this advice and you can use it. And I hope that you guys have a great rest of your week. Take care and have a good one. Thank you for listening to the Sales Mastermind podcast. Be sure to check out the show notes below for any resources or sites mentioned in the podcast. Also be sure to subscribe and join the Facebook community to continue the conversation. Here's to your success.